right, so thank you guys for joining me here for the panel discussion number 20, Taking Control, Agency in Filmmaking, and Why It Matters. With me here I have, if you could introduce yourself, rather.
Hi, I'm Derrien Gipson. I'm the executive director of a company called SAGindie. In the States, I teach independent filmmakers how to make independent film, how to hire professional actors, how to navigate your independent film through festivals, etc.
Super, thank you. And yourself?
My name is Zoey Martinson. I am a writer, director for film and American television as well. And I work in Ghana, and I have a production company in New York called Smoke and Mirrors Collaborative.
Super.
Excuse my voice. Because of my disability, I lose my voice very easily. But my name is Tajona Karhu. I am an action and thriller director. I'm based in the UK, but I don't work in the UK. And I make people kill each other for a living. It's very fun.
We're definitely going to touch back on that shortly. Well, thank you guys very much, and I want to speak about sort of my background in terms of filmmaking. The only experience that I have to speak of for things that I've completed have been indie, have been very bare bones, no budget, low budget films and short films and such, as well as those that I've worked on. So, for those of us who are, I guess, trying to transition into full-time filmmaking and trying to transition to really making their ideas come to life. I'd like to have you guys sort of speak on anything you've come across for a bit of sage wisdom in terms of creating that content.
Oh, we're going straight to the sage wisdom?
Yes.
I'm not prepared. Sage wisdom. There are so many things that will help you along your way. So one of the things I say is find your resources and use them wisely, but this is the time where people will help you if you reach out. So as you're trying to make things, if you see something that you like, be it you're wondering about a camera or a distributor or anything, contact a film maker who has worked with that company or worked with that equipment. Just call them and ask them, how was it? What did it cost? People will tell you what you need to know ahead of time if you have the audacity to ask. So don't be shy. Ask your questions. Ask for what you need.
Absolutely. May I ask, you're out of the States, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm based in Los Angeles and I cover the U.S. And I program here in Cannes.
Okay, super. No, I only ask in terms of like the more the funding streams in terms of how it's mostly private equity and such. So there's also a lot of wiggle room in terms of films made in the States to actually have the ability to contact. I know that unions, of course, play a massive factor.
Yeah, I'm a union affiliate. I am an affiliate of SAG-AFTRA. I don't work for them, but I look at their contracts and I see how they're able to be used, and then I help filmmakers understand which contract they want to use and how to navigate it without getting in trouble, which equals having to pay a lot more money. So yeah, I try to be very well versed in like what's happening as far as regulations and things like that. Sure. And yeah, the money can be, the budget can be a little fluid, but there are also hard ceilings to it.
Of course.
So you just have to know how much you can push it.
Sure, and obviously that information for someone who's sort of just getting out there can be very difficult to obtain, if not for someone on the inside, more or less, who can sort of walk someone through that.
Well, the beauty is you can always go to sagindie.org because we are a free service for all filmmakers.
Boom! There we go.
You can email us, you can call us, you can ask us 1,000 questions in a phone call, or you can call us 1,000 times. We are completely free and we will help you work it out.
It's fantastic. I'm going to personally write that down. Awesome. And for yourself, any sage wisdom or advice in terms of things you've created to get an idea to the creation stage?
I kind of started in, I think I kind of had to start my own career. No one was coming to me to say, I'm going to finance you or I'm going to give you money to make anything. I went to undergrad at a few places and then I went to NYU grad, and still no one was coming to make my stuff. So I wrote a play. We kickstarted the play. It took place in South Africa, and it ended up winning the Fringe and then going off Broadway, and it opened up and went all over the world, and it opened up a career as a playwright and a director. And then from there, I wanted to go back into film that I'd kind of started, and then I had to make short films. And so to do that, I had to kind of partner sometimes with universities to get a film made. I had to draw on my network of people and friends, and we all kind of helped each other out. So I would work on someone else's set, and they would work on my set, and we would charge each other.
Sure.
We'd just like make it work, or we'd loan each other clothes, or whatever it was, or I'd operate cameras for friends, and then not knowing that in turn I was going to ask them for something. So it created a very big network, because I was kind of at that age in New York, I was like the yes. They call Zoey, she'll say yes. I'm like, script soup? I've never done it, but I'll do it. You know, like I'll just show up if I'm, because I didn't like staying at home being bored. The short film that I did that kind of really broke me into the industry, we did in Ghana. It was the same thing. We went to all of our network. I had come up in the Ghanaian film industry, so all of the people that are now kind of there are my colleagues. And so we were helping each other, like build careers together, and we worked on kind of American sets together. We learned together. And so when I wanted to make a short film, my producer there was like, let's do it. We had to go to the local advertising houses. We asked if they would give us a camera. Almost all said no to the camera, except for the only female director, Shirley, who was like, I'll give you a camera, but you have to also have one of my camera ops, because I don't trust you guys like destroying my camera. But she said yes, and she gave us it for one weekend. We used the camera. My friend did costume design. We got a sound designer that we had to pay for, obviously, and it cost us very little money to make. I then brought that back. The film looked beautiful. And I asked an editor if they would edit it for me, and that film ended up, we submitted it, it won awards, it qualified for the Oscars, and HBO Max bought it. And that,
round of applause, please.
But that's all to say, like, when people asked us how much we made that film for, it probably total came to about 2.5, maybe 4,000 USD. But that was like, that's a lot of money in CD. So, but it really came from our community. Now, years later, that same film, that was a short film, I started working in the studio systems for HBO, for Showtime, for different A24. But ultimately, that a lot of features that I thought I was going to make first just were dying during the strike, or for many reasons, or they were just on pause. My producer called me up during the strike and was like, hey, let's turn that short film into a feature. I was like, great, I have time. And so we did, we entered it into the Biennale College Lab. We wrote it, and it premiered at Venice last year, and it won an award, and it was Ghana's first film to ever premiere at Venice. And all of that was to say we still had to do the same thing because our budget was super low. We went to the bank that we bank at, and we were like, can we use your lobby? We'll put your logo in. And they were like, yes, we'll support you. Maxmart, like the grocery store, gave us their location for free. Like, we kept our budget low by doing the same thing, where we were asking companies that we patron to just give us a space or allow us to have this. We had to ask the advertising companies. This time we had some money, but it wasn't enough because we wanted to do a 3-week shoot. So we were like, listen, we'll pay you this, but we'll put your name on, we'll try as hard as, and they all said yes. It was like the same thing to get the feature made. Yeah. So I would say it's all about just drawing network and showing up for other people, and hopefully they'll show up for you one day.
Absolutely. So it sounds a bit like you're saying it's less about like a quid pro quo and more like individuals who are also trying to raise each other up and sort of rise together. That's exactly what we need in this industry, as individuals just coming together to create that village that can create the content.
It's a strange thing that people always look up at heads of company and heads of organizations and heads of studios and say, I want to meet that person. But that is really not the person you want to meet, because that person is so far removed. You really want to look to your left and to your right. Who's with you? Who's working at the same time? Who's good? Like, oh, that person's got a great eye. That person's got a camera, and that person's a great editor. Those are the people who you need to be meeting, because meeting people who are that far up isn't really going to help you, but you can call on your friends.
Yeah, actually
Absolutely.
one more little side. It was similar. Like Crystal Moselle, who's actually in Cannes, she is an insanely talented director, and she reached out to me because she was making her first. She does a lot of docs that have won awards, and she was making her first feature film. And she was like, I need an acting coach to help me in rehearsals. And I was like, I'll do it, right? We then became friends. She came to see my plays. Her film premiered at Sundance. It then went on to have a great run. HBO wanted that film to be a television show. She got it. And in season 2, she gave me my first TV writing job. So it was like, it's the same thing, like saying yes to something that a lot of people probably would have said no to at that point. Like, just opened doors and made connections that years later turned into an opportunity that I never thought I would get, you know? So it was friends.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've spoken about that in the past. We've had a few people who have sort of described what the nature of luck is in this industry is very much preparation and that opportunity. So if you're in the right position, if you're with the right people, as you said, the people to your left and your right, and you're prepared and you are ready enough to do it, then we all have what it takes together to get it done. But I wonder if you can speak on some of your experiences in that regard as well.
Yeah, I mean, as you guys were talking so beautifully about your experiences, I think in my sort of blunt English way, I would say, just do it, essentially. I come from nothing, and with my condition, it affects my lifespan too, so I really don't have time to waste. But then also, I'm a cheeky English person, so I'm good at asking for things for nothing. And the just do it kind of energy comes from, and even with my career to get into this field is impossible. But I basically just made friends with people. And then if you don't ask, you don't get, right? And basically, I always knew if you had like $3,000, everyone's gonna ask for $1,000. But if you say, I haven't got any money, but I just need you to help me, most likely you'll get things for free because you just ask, right? And if they say no, you just keep going. But again, like I told you, blunt English answer, obviously.
No, I appreciate that. Sure.
But yeah, like the same, I think we've all had similar experiences. I don't know anybody, I didn't know anybody going into even action and thriller world, but I look young, but I've been in film for 20 years, so I called in all my favors, yeah. I've done everything. I was a DP for 6 years, and editor for 12 years. And then my disability and being around lots of other people, but I'm a Camden punk person, so we're good at getting things for free and drinking. So I was like, well, let me just give people a drink and a deck of cards, and you get around the world, really.
Super.
So yeah, anyway, just to your points, it's impossible to make stuff. And I, as an editor, I worked with a lot of directors who had the one project, or they spent years trying to do the one short film, as opposed to just working and doing it and figuring it out. And I know it's so hard to say, but if you just don't ask, you don't know. And then you have incredible people like yourself that you would just easily, if somebody asked you, you'd probably say yes to helping them as well. It's not as hard as people think in a nice way, but then also incredibly hard.
No, of course, and thank you for that. Beautifully said yourself. I should just say that, I mean, I've personally experienced this. You mentioned it right there, where you said, you know, if someone asked us, surely we'd probably say yes. And I don't think there's anyone here who's been working in film who hasn't said yes to a friend for something, who hasn't given free script coverage, who hasn't given, you know, maybe not a full edit, but yeah, I'll run it through. I'll see if I see any glaring issues, you know, because whether it be completing something or whether it be just furthering someone's intentions, that ball is still rolling. And any time you can be with someone with a rolling ball where you see progress, you're inspired to be more progressed. You know, you're inspired to be like, well, you know what? He's been putting in work on that screenplay. When's the last time I touched my screenplay? It was like, yeah. So then you're more fluid with how you're approaching your own dreams, because you realize that through hyping each other up and helping each other in small ways and big ways, it helps yourself and it helps all those around you. But one thing I want to mention as far as my own scrappy little getting together people for nothing, the one thing that I ran into more than anything was scheduling issues. Because many people, if they're not full-time filmmakers, they have 1, 2, maximum 2 days per week. And that's if they are usually single and without children. So my experience has been mostly trying to find that one perfect 2 hours to get work done for free. What's your guys' biggest struggle? If we can start with you. Biggest struggle with sort of like scrappy indie filmmaking, and any advice on how to resolve it?
Oh, so many things. For one, it's managing expectation. That what you expect people to do, what you expect your project to do, what you expect the money to do, just having a better understanding of how far you can push things, how far you can take people. And like you said, if you can find that 2 hours, people will say, I can do that. But you have to be able to say, if you can come and do this job, I promise you I will get you in, I will roll it, and I will get you out. And then you have to be so prepared that you can do that, because people will always help you, but if you waste their time, you can't get them back. So that's the thing about it, is just managing expectation, but being so prepared that when you get there, people feel good about working for you because they know that you are rolling.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Teresa?
Well, now at this stage, I don't ask my producers and we don't ask anyone to work for free. Because we did when I was younger and I was starting out, but I'm a little older now, I've been in here for a while. So I don't feel as comfortable, but even what we will do sometimes is ask if you would do it for this rate,
Sure.
depending on our budget. So there's a payment. When you're paying someone, it automatically becomes a job. Right. And even if that rate is not normally what they take, it's maybe half. If they agree to it, they agree to showing up for you. So if they say no, I'm never offended. I always give people an out. I know this is low. I'm sorry. This is my first feature. But if you can't do it, we'll find another time. And they might not be able to do it, and I don't take it personal at all. But you will find the person that also needs it, because they also are at a similar stage where they need that feature that go, or they'll be so set and comfortable that through some kind of other job or some other big paying job that they're willing to do it at that rate because they want to work with you and they want to continue to cultivate relationships with new directors and new voices. So there's two sides of that. And so that's kind of where I'm at now.
Sure, for sure. And I want to say that I speak for everyone who's done unpaid work. We love that you want to pay us. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I think I'd have. Yeah, at this point I have to. I have to.
It's good to know. It's good to know for you personally.
I just, I think you got. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable. I wouldn't even ask an assistant, or I don't even ask interns. I'm I have to pay them something, because it's just, I don't know.
No, I appreciate that. We'll link up, for sure.
I don't always have the ability to have those people.
That's an aside. That's fine. Sorry.
Yeah, my biggest struggle is kind of a bit more complex. I mentioned I have a very severe, intense disability. So just in terms of even outside of film world, I live a very different existence to most people because I'm in our hospital all the time. I rely on sign language to communicate as well. I'm non-verbal sometimes. So the struggle to ask anyone to do something for nothing has been an issue, but the struggle for me comes from I couldn't even figure out how to do what I've been doing, right? And in the sense of the indie underground world, independent stuff, what I've basically done is I've just worked obviously myself to death. Nobody talks about the burnout, how many burnouts we have a year in life. But the struggle I've had the most is explaining to them that I won't ask you to do anything more than I wouldn't do. I'm the first on set, I'm the last on set. I run a professional set, but I don't mind a good fight as well, and I'll fight for everybody I work with. So in that sense of the struggle, it's trying to get into this world and being supported enough in this world and putting myself into an unhealthy situation to do it kind of gives people a bit of a weird relief to work for me for nothing, because they know kind of what I put on the line to do the stuff I'm doing. But then the struggle in terms of action world, it's a very cutthroat career because you don't see many mixed race, dark female directors until recently. You have Ava and you have Gina. But that 5 years ago when I decided to get into this career, it wasn't there. And that struggle of being it's alpha for a reason. There's a reason why you don't see directors in the field. But again, you become tough cookie, I suppose. Very tough. Anyway.
No, super, thank you.
Can I mention something that Zoe talked about, but I think was really important? Certainly in respect to actors in the US, if they happen to be like SAG-AFTRA actors, which are the majority of the professional actors, if they work for you for free, they own their performance, which means you can get to the end of that process, and if for any reason they are unhappy, don't like how it ends, whatever, they can withhold that performance and you cannot use it. And if you can't cut around it, you're just out of luck. So the fact that you pay them anything establishes the relationship that they are working for hire. And that means that you own the performance. So it's an important thing to remember that people often say, oh, the contract says I don't have to pay anything up front. Well, you don't, but just understand that that puts you in as big a risk as it does them. If you pay them anything, it's like an attorney that you're going to, talk to about your case. You give them $1 first, you give your actor some money, and that establishes that they are for hire, and then you own their performance.
Super, and thank you for that tip. May I ask, does that also apply to deferred payments in terms of on contracts or anything of that nature?
Absolutely, there is no such thing as a deferred payment. SAG-AFTRA really doesn't have very many things where you don't have to pay anything. And again, you don't really want to do it. Most of them are just the low budget contracts, which are greatly discounted from the basic. So it can be as little as maybe, it's actually probably like a fifth of what the basic agreement is for the lowest feature. It's $300,000 and less for an ultra low. And the pay is, it's actually going into negotiation soon, but it's about $250 a day.
A day, yeah, okay.
I think it's a little higher than that right now, but it's also about to go up again.
Sure. All that makes a lot of sense, for sure. May I ask, and I'm not sure how plugged in the whole panel is, but in terms of the negotiations with SAG-AFTRA and IATSE, I understand that there were some more talks after the deal went through because of capture of actors in terms of their like 3D imaging, so they can put them in like filling stands and such. We looked into this a bit last year, and it's fascinating because one thing that caught me off guard was that many thousands of actors have already had their likenesses taken when they were on other roles, and then it was only made obvious what it was being used for after they already did it and they already signed it off. So I wonder if you guys can speak to what the struggles may be and if how much of a alarm is being sounded in your spaces.
You guys want to?
Well, I don't know. I'm in the DGA and I'm in the WGA and I'm actually in SAG-AFTRA. I don't like. Listen.
It was a big question.
I have a very controversial view on this because I think, having worked in studio systems, I see where these unions are so important because they will take and take and take and take, and they are earning so much off of your work, your artistry, and they will try to pay you the least amount as possible. So the fact that there's a union-regulated rules that keep you protected are so important. In the indie space, and I'm talking more like ultra low budget, it gets very tricky working with them. So that's kind of all I can say, because sometimes the rules are made for much larger budgets and not necessarily made for a smaller budget to exist. And I'm mainly, because I haven't done SAG-AFTRA in a long time, I've worked with SAG actors, but in the WGA and DGA, the contracts are very much made for like $1 million+ budgets, which are not, other than when I work on television, I get those, but when in film yet, I have not really gotten that level. So it becomes very difficult to deal with my own unions. And so, I'm hoping it changes a little bit to not eliminate that level of production in the US.
Sure. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this. Tajona? Is that correct?
Oh, I love. No, it's Tajona.
Tajona, apologies.
Yeah, sorry.
Tajona.
It's a wild, fun name.
Yeah.
What I would say to that, again, I suppose in the relativity to my genre, I end up working with more stunt and fight people, and the actors tend to be, again...
Oh, right, the death and the killing, yeah.
Fun stuff. But to that point, you're not going to work with action stars unless you have £10 million budget,
Sure.
actors wise. So a lot of the actors I'm working with are either fighters that go into acting or actors that are starting out who want to get into fighting, because there's no way I can afford somebody who is like badass actor who also does that anyway. So in terms of, in relation to that, I don't technically deal with those type of people yet, I'd say. But we have obviously started talking about future projects. And again, we have to do it by the book because the genre is so health and safety based that I can't take any teeny corners. But, you know, on the download, and let's pretend like this has not been recorded, that the fight teams, they like to do stuff. They like to do fun things sometimes and let me know that they're doing that. So in terms of that relationship, we're aware of it and we like to respect it. But then if somebody wants to work with me and I say I can't really do these things, I can't really protect you in these ways, they have to be aware of, like, my level is not Marvel blockbusters, even though I work with those people. So it's very, they're okay doing things in different ways to do fun stuff.
But it's a difference between tools and generative.
Yeah.
So you can use, like, what's happening is an actor gets a job and they have to be clothed and they have to have hair. So they will take a scan of you and they will take you top to bottom and they'll get your voice in case they have to plug things in. And and with every technology, it's always presented as something really great, an advancement, and it often is. But you really have to think the next few steps of how can it be used in a bad way. And this one was a very clear cut way in that if somebody has your likeness and they have your voice, they can actually make you do anything without your consent. And people thought, oh, well, that's not really going to happen. And then there was a commercial for a dental office, I think, that was Tom Hanks. And Tom Hanks had to say, I don't know these people. I didn't do that. So now it's being seen how people can be manipulated to believe that other people are agreeing to be a part of something. And SAG-AFTRA had a rule for forever that said, you cannot take somebody's likeness. Like, if they're passed on, you can't suddenly make Fred Astaire dance with a mop. His estate has to agree to that, or you can ruin their legacy. And imagine what you could make people do who stood for something and passed away. Now you can make them puppet for anything you want. And, you know, not for nothing, people will do it. So it was a very, very strict thing. AI has changed everything. And that is the basis of what the fight is not to stop it, but to regulate it, to make sure that you can't take somebody, because otherwise, once you have an actor, why do you ever need to hire them again? They're in your computer. You don't ever have to do that. And if the actor goes, what happens to hair and makeup? If you don't have an actor, what happens to props? You don't have to hand them anything. Set design, gone. All of it goes.
Yeah, no, it's really important because you can do it. Like, I work a lot in VFX. Like, even the film that was at Venice, it's a comedy fantasy. So it's a lot. There's over 75 VFX shots. They can take the face and move it according to what they want it to be. I mean, we did that with a talking fish, but I think it is important to regulate, because I don't think it's fair for an actor to come in and not know what they're doing. Like, an actor gets to read the script, a performer gets, and everybody gets to agree to what they're doing. And if there's things they're not comfortable with saying or doing, they can articulate that in person. If you were to have that model, the actor has no clue what it is and what they're be saying or doing, because it's now just like taken, and then they have no more agency in what they're comfortable with. And I don't think that's just morally right at all.
No, for sure.
So I don't use it. But then on the flip side of that, VFX is so expensive, and even crowd replication, which they've been doing for a long time.
Sure they have.
You used to kind of take, like, if this was my crowd, like, we had this huge party scene in my movie and we couldn't afford that many extras. But we took the crowd here, they all partied. We moved them back like a bunch here. Now they all kind of mix themselves up differently. We recorded them here, then we recorded them back here, right, partying. but we're still recording them each time. And then in VFX, they take that and they layer the crowd, and it looks now like a huge, big crowd, right? Now what you could do is that you could just record them like as bodies alone, and then you could just put them anywhere in the crowd, right? And I see how that does save money, but I think it's okay to let go of that one moment of VFX to give the actors also the ability to have autonomy and agency over their own performance.
Absolutely.
You know?
No, for sure. And I think that one small case study, if I might, regarding the crowd size as well, that I found quite interesting was actually from Matt Damon, because he was speaking about how he got into acting. A lot of people associate Matt Damon's first entry with film being, Good Will Hunting. Right, but actually he and Matt, I'm sorry, who's the other? Ben Affleck, precisely. Yeah. The two of them actually were extras in a baseball scene, in a baseball film, and it was because of that they were like, this is kind of a cool environment. From that, they went and got another extra role. Then they were picked out from the extras pool, and they were, unnamed extras, and then named extras, and it just caused them to understand how this industry works. Then they were like, we can write a film too. And it became Good Will Hunting. So really, with AI and the many tools that are coming out which have the potential to take away that agency from actors, that's why it's so important that we as creatives can understand that and do our best to mitigate it and use it to our advantage, not to erase us. But unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap up there. Thank you guys so much for your time. Please do a round of applause.